One of the most helpful tools nowadays that you can find as a web developer is Bootstrap. Bootstrap is an HTML, CSS, and JavaScript framework that allows you to quickly create responsive, clean-looking websites. It does this simply by providing you with some pre-built CSS and JavaScript that, among other things, takes care of the sometimes tricky matter of site responsiveness and provides a ton of pre-built styling for other things like lists, navbars, forms, and lots of other website elements. With this, you can focus more on getting your site to look the way you want it, and less on wrestling with some of the quirks of CSS, media queries, and cross-browser compatibility. And since it's basically just a collection of CSS and JavaScript files, you can always customize any of it just as much as you want. If all of this sounds a little complicated, that's almost the point of Bootstrap. It takes care of coding the complicated stuff, so all you have to do is implement it and modify it to fit your needs. So go to getbootstrap.com, and here on the main page, click the Download Bootstrap button. In this tutorial, we're going to create a website using Bootstrap and exploring some of its most important features. We won't have time to cover everything, but we're going to get a solid introduction to the framework and what it provides. Here you'll see we have a few options of what to download exactly. If you're familiar with Less or Sass, you can explore these options later, but we're just going to download the basic Bootstrap framework itself. So over here on the left, under the Bootstrap header, go ahead and click Download Bootstrap. And you can put this pretty much wherever you want. We don't need it to be located on a server or anything. And once that downloads, make sure you extract it. And then you can get rid of the zip file. Then let's go ahead and just rename this folder simply Bootstrap, just to keep things easy. And now let's take a look inside Bootstrap real quick, just to see exactly how simple it is. We've got 3 folders. One contains a few CSS files. One contains some glyph icon files that we're not going to worry about right now. And one contains some JavaScript files, and that's it. So if you're feeling intimidated at all about Bootstrap, this should calm your worries about it a little bit, because it really is a very simple framework that we're working with. So once you have Bootstrap downloaded, go back to the website. And just as a reminder, if you scroll to the top here, we're on the Getting Started page, which you can get from the menu if you happen to get lost. Over here in the sidebar, click on Basic Template. Now we do have a couple of options as to how we want to proceed from here. We can just start coding from scratch and include the Bootstrap files, that's fine. As you can see, Bootstrap also provides us with a basic template that doesn't do much, just besides providing the skeleton of an HTML page that, if you notice in the middle here, uses Bootstrap, and down at the bottom here loads jQuery as well as Bootstrap's JavaScript files. And it doesn't do much else, so it doesn't really intrude on what you're trying to create. So this is usually a great place to start. So let's go ahead and copy this basic template. Then pull up whatever text editor you're going to be working with to create your website and paste it all in there. And we're going to go ahead and save this. Make sure you save it inside the Bootstrap download. This is basically going to be our site's root directory. We're going to save it as index.html, just the basic front page for our website. If we go back once again to getbootstrap.com, we scroll down a little bit more, we'll see there are other templates that we can play around with as well that get a little bit more in depth. They start providing more and more things on their own. These are all things we can create using Bootstrap, but some of these come already configured with all of this stuff built in. That's just for future reference. We're not going to actually use these in the tutorial. Also, go back to your file. Notice that the basic template uses the minified version of Bootstrap's main CSS file. So if you ever want to do any editing to it, and and you don't want to worry about editing a minified CSS file, which is frankly a nightmare, you'll want to just change this to bootstrap.css. But we're going to keep the minified version because we're not going to do any customizing right now. From here, we can go ahead and take a look at the website and see what it looks like. It's going to be extremely basic, but just so you can kind of see what's going on, you can just open your HTML document, or you can navigate to it in your web browser. Either way should work just fine. And we have Hello World. Nothing fancy yet. We're going to do two things very quickly before we move on. First, in our file, we're going to go in between the body and this h1 Hello World tag, and we're going to create one of Bootstrap's basic divs, which is a div with the class container. So div class equals container. Make sure you close that. We can go ahead and indent this header just to keep things properly formed. And you can leave a space if you want to before closing the div, because there's going to be some other stuff in here eventually. Save that. Then go back and refresh your page. And you'll notice that Hello World isn't bumped up all the way against the edge of your page now. It's using Bootstrap's container class to provide just a little bit of margin on our page so things don't look all crammed up to the sides. One final thing we want to do before we finish up right here is, instead of this basic Hello World text, we're creating a website for a tech startup. We can have a little fun with this. There's a website that I love called tiffzang.com/startup. It's a startup generator. If you go here, it'll give you a sort of stereotypical sounding tech startup name. For me, I got Trust Hub. That's what I'm going to use. It'll randomize it for you. If you don't like the one you got, you can click Get Started here and it'll give you another one. I'm going to go with Trust Hub. You can use this or Trust Hub or just whatever you want. So in between the H1 opening and closing tag, I deleted Hello World. I'm going to add Trust Hub, save that, go back to the website one last time, refresh, make sure everything looks perfect, and now we have the beginnings of a new Bootstrap website. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel right now before you do anything else. Click on the subscribe button. We also want to hear from you. Do you have any questions? Leave a comment below this video. We try to answer every question.